bill that completely changes what is legally the right of the executive to do. I mean, I think if there are things happening that are outside of the rights of the administration, those things should go through the courts. I completely agree that anything that is an issue should be dealt with. But I don't know, like, it just seems like what people are upset about isn't necessarily that they actually think that what's going on is wrong. They just disagree with it.
What did Trump say? He said, I am the law. He basically said, I am the law, Judge Redstone, right? He basically kind of said that, right? So he's not even trying to respect the courts. A lot of people are taking him to courts now and everything. So he kind of said,
he literally is respecting the courts by letting what the court says stand as how he is running his administration. He is not getting directives from federal courts and going, nah, fuck you, I'm not doing that.
That's not what Holton said, Marshall. He didn't say that.
He argued that he was not accountable. My point is,
he literally said he's not respecting the courts, which I don't think is true. He's even said he will respect the courts. I think comments have been made that people absolutely can be critical of. But, I mean, Joe Biden said he liked ice cream. Does that mean we should apply that to every single decision Joe Biden made? I mean, he was incoherent a lot of the time, and the same people complaining now that Trump is making jokes about being king weren't really concerned that they didn't even know who was running the country. Like, I think that we can be honest and be concerned about some of these things, and we can be critical of them, but we also have to stick to reality. Like, why is that so difficult?
That's not what Holton said. Holton said that he's not running the country.
It's crazy. And I didn't say that. Trump said he wasn't good. He said, hey, I am the law. Hey, whatever. He still ain't stopped the payments that were supposed to stop.
He can say that till the cows come home.
Kelly, can I call for an ISO with Norm?
Just hold on. He can say that shit all.
Hold on, and I'm about to be removed from the room, Marsha.
Monica, I'm not sure what's going on here, but Marsha was speaking.
The point is, he can't do that shit. And unless you think Donald Trump can magically teleport his authority into that of an emperor, then there is no scenario in the recent future that deals with that. So what Donald Trump says that shit? I don't like it. I think it's dumb, but it's not like it means anything. It's not like, to be frank, it has any plenary power whatsoever. It doesn't redirect things. Donald Trump is saying dumb shit because sometimes the man says dumb shit.
And you voted for
in the framework.
That's not my point. My point is when he says things like I'm a king or I am the law, it should be appropriately scorned because it doesn't matter what he says. There is no court or Congress in the land that would support such an interpretation of the office of president. I will tell you, to be very frank, the thing about the first month of the Trump administration that has irritated me the most is the number of Democrats who all of a sudden managed to pick up oh my gosh, government is too powerful. Holy shit. When what it really is people going, no, when my guys got it, it's great. When your guys got it, he's a dictator. Now, don't get me wrong. Each side of the political aisle does that. And here's the consequence of doing that for 200 and some odd years. The office of the president has grown into something known as the imperial presidency. The executive is extremely powerful. So, if people really believe that Donald Trump shouldn't have power, then here's a really good question. Why during the Biden administration did the Biden administration not try to give back executive authority to Congress? Because we would all agree that Congress has abdicated its authority over the last 35 to 40 years by letting the executive promulgate more and more agencies that grow government larger and larger because Congress is unwilling to do its job.
I'm trying to start rumors, but I'm
unwilling to force Congress to do its job. So the executive grows and grows and grows and gets ever more powerful. And the political fights that are had are, well, your guy has it, so now it's really shitty. When my guy had it, it was tight and we were following all the laws. And the problem with that is it doesn't deal with what people say is their underlying issue, which is why I really don't think it's an issue. They're complaining about executive power.
Marshall, I think we've got it. Go ahead and land this.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
Marshall, I think you're not dealing with reality, though. I mean, you're talking about somebody who's joking about being a king or being a dictator. Biden did say, well, for example, the student loans, the Supreme Court shut it down. He said, I'm going to follow the rules of the Supreme Court. He ain't going to say, well, whatever. That's what Trump is kind of doing. Elon is running roughshod.
That is
He
exactly
already moved them around here.
Trump administration is actually done.
Yeah, the whole tirade.
Literally the opposite.
No,
The courts have checked them, and they have responded accordingly to the court's direction.
Can he speak, Marshall? He was speaking.
Marshall, hold on just a second.
Anyways, but yeah, Elon running roughshod and just cut stuff. And you're right, Marshall. Congress has abdicated their responsibility. Why? Because we have a Republican Congress, and all of them are scared. That's why they nominated a lot of these crazy nominees. They're scared because they know they're going to be primary and money's going to be put behind their candidate. So they're saying, well, we're not going to do. Even the people who disagree with what Trump is doing, Elon is doing, they say, hey, we're scared to get out of office. So I'm agreeing with you on the point that, hey, yes, Congress is not doing anything. The Republican Congress, they're scared shitless about losing their jobs. So we're in agreement on that. But at the same time, Trump is setting a framework for his Project 2025, their agenda. And Elon Musk just grifting off the government.
You mean Donald Trump is using the power?
Marshall, hold on, Marshall. You guys, both of you, let's other people get in.
And I'd like to alert the moderators to the fact that there's a gentleman named Wisdom down in the and that is he's live streaming the room. That is Edmonds.
Oh, hi, Edmund.
Edmund, whatever.
Edmund.
The problem with like computer science has always been like, we had the ability to build the hardware, but we didn't have the software to be able to run the hardware correctly because we were still trying to keep up with it because we were writing it down manually. We were doing it like the old school style. But with now the advent of AI being able to propagate new code, based on a set of parameters and make use of the chip, and it understands the structure of the chip, and it'll be able to code the pathways for that kind of control for a specific output, I don't know.
Are we creating a god? A superpower?
Are we creating a god?
God? Do you think it's going to become a god?
No.
Because it's going to do everything.
Well, the thing is God is everywhere all the time, because he's the Alpha and the Omega, he's the beginning and the end. The thing that when you think about technology, you can only think of it as a God, but only in the end, because technology like that wasn't in the beginning. So it's not God.
It's not God. But we have.
But everything is God.
I already know where he is.
Oh, really? Okay, that's nice.
Yes, he lives in my heart.
Lives in your heart. Okay.
Sometimes he takes a vacation and I become an asshole.
Yeah, I want to say that I've seen the agape in Don's heart. He is a good man, but if you think we are creating God, you don't know what God is. God is everything, but maybe if we do create something and it is part of the everything, that is part of God, but it is not God. Part of God.
Okay.
Yeah, but in India, isn't Ganesh supposed to be everything? Because I had an Indian friend one time told me, he said, like, yeah, Ganesh is that fence post. And I'm like, what?
But the fence post is like a pole. So above and below is above. So maybe he was right. And Ganesha is essentially math. So if you know the formula, you know the truth of the earth.
Bro, you just totally turned Mexican. You lose.
I'm sorry, sir. I am not from Mexico.
Man, kalkatam hojegyan.
Dari mani bos panchot sortenas hogya kute.
Get.
So stupid.
And they are kind of built different. I think they got a tougher life than a lot of us. And so, man, it's just the proof is in the pudding. They are dominating the UFC and these mixed martial arts, fighting champions, fighting, yeah. I never bet against. So if you do online betting, guys, like sports betting, I just say don't ever bet against a Russian, a Georgian, a Chechen, or a Dagestani. Just don't bet against them. Even if they're from the Middle East.
I feel like right now UFC is dominated by Dagestan niggas. They're dominated.
Kinda.
Sash, what did you say? Sash, what did you say? Sash, what did you say?
I said, were you asking me about chess earlier in this room, or was it someone else?
I think it was someone else.
That was Jacobus.
Yeah.
So Jacobus, what did you want? Serious people don't stop speaking.
Jacobus said he heard that you beat Huey yesterday. He wants to play you.
We can play, but I beat Huey and then he cheated.
I know, he always cheats. I'm Jewish.
I think we proved that with AI yesterday. We were talking about it. Like, they were saying how it was just highly unlikely, even with a grandmaster champion, to lose 3 times and all of a sudden have like that. It was pretty funny. So anyway, new day though.
Jacobus, add me on Leeches. My username is Sasha.
You don't
Underscore.
Cool. I'm not too far from a person.
No, I don't like the layout.
Oh, you're a scammer. I don't play scam.
What? Alright, that's fine.
Hey Sasha, where are you from? You sound like someone from Dagestan.
I'm from Poland.
Like I said, Dagestan. No, I'm just saying yours sound the same.
Yeah, likewise.
Yes, Africans do sound the same.
Sash, should we bring back the Poland-Lithuania Empire? Should we Poland?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think it's really needed given the presence of the European Union.
Do you know European Union is sucking right now, dude. Germany used to be like the leader, and now they're fucking up. They're letting every Tom, Dick, and Harry in their country, and they pursued these green policies, which basically destroyed their economy. The electricity is like 4 times the amount that it is in America, because they pursued these green policies so hard. They shut down their nuclear, fuck that.
Well, a lot of
down their nuclear.
people do actually more efficient energy than we are, like the windmills and stuff. Their power.
That shit doesn't work. No, that's stupid. Doctor, it's 4 times more for the cost of electricity in Germany than it is in America.
Yeah, but
Are
you just gonna leave out the part where the Nord Stream 2 got blown up?
I just wanted to mention that
I didn't know it was
America
such a spot.
is blowing up.
Thinking crust.
Yeah,
No, you blew it up. You blew it up with the CIA. You blew.
Capitalism.
Russia
You're
it
loud
definitely
as
does.
Oh, let
hell.
me meditate on the purpose. I'm
It really is.
You know, so look, the energy prices in Germany were just fine until we blew up the Nord Stream 2, and that caused them to no longer be able to import gas from Russia, which is why the prices went through the roof.
We were talking about electricity, buddy. We weren't talking about
Yeah,
gas.
Guy, how do you think electricity is generated? Do you think they burn their own farts? Is that how you think that works?
From coal too, and gas. But
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
not
saying.
just from,
Yeah, so
it's not just from gas. Like, can we stop?
Germany is generating the vast majority of their electricity from coal now out of a mine called the Garzweiler 2 mine. And this is a particular type of coal called lignite coal. Lignite coal is such a poor quality of coal that they have to import better coal from other places to begin the process of burning this lignite. Guy, I'm gonna run circles around you on energy policy.
I want to just a comment against someone.
That's bullshit.
I've been there.
Yo, who wants to limit
I don't care. I've been to America. I live here.
Send me a link.
What's
I don't know
on
everything.
Dingus Moon?
It's bullshit.
On Dingus Moon. Just
Oh my God,
Post the link in the chat.
okay.
Hi, Eric.
Long story short, it's a steam generator. Either it's gas or coal, it's a steam generator. Yes.
If they would have let Tesla live, he knew
But
how
it's
to
mainly
get
coal though.
Tesla knew how to get us free energy, so they shouldn't have killed that guy.
There's no such thing as free energy, Jesse. Basic science.
Here we go. You want to be white so bad? Come on, white boy. Tell me why there's no such thing as free energy.
There's no such thing as free energy.
Go ahead. White boy. No, he wants to be white so bad. He does what white people
You're allowed. You're allowed. We accept you. You can join white if you want. You're in. You're in the club.
You're in the club because you think nothing should be free. Yeah, let's go.
There's no such thing as free energy.
Yeah, that's why we pay for water too. Water? We're paying for grapes?
You pay for access to water. Some pool,
here we go. We pay for the access to water. Shut the fuck up. Hold on 1 second. Do you know if I own property on a public waterway, I can never own access to that water? I just have the property, right? But you never own a public waterway because of the white people. You know, nothing's free unless you public.
Don't try to explain.
Oh my God, is Jimmy trying to speak? You better let Jimmy speak. Go on, Jimmy.
I know. I was just curious. To Dr. Jasmine Love. Hey, Jasmine Love. Do you know how hard it is to find clean, drinkable water?
I'm in America. It's not hard. I live in Florida. It's something called Zephyr Hills. If you can find a natural spring, you have clean drinking water, especially if it has aquifers.
And white people are stealing.
So in Africa, it might be very hard. Hold on. In Africa, it might be very, very hard to find clean drinking water.
It's not easy in northeastern Montana. You have to drill for your own water.
In Georgia, 1 second, I'm almost done. In Georgia, they also have natural springs flowing with water straight out the ground with ice cold water.
Jesse, natural springs occur everywhere.
Yeah.
I know.
Jimmy.
But he asked a question.
Do you have a hammer? Jimmy.
No, I don't have. No.
Okay, go to Home Depot, buy a hammer, hit your dick with it, and be way better.
No shit though, it's not free. It's not free. You have to drill for it in eastern Montana.
It's 1:42 a.m. and I don't want to start cursing at people and calling them fucking idiots. So if you could kindly stop interrupting.
Pretty sure she was done.
Jasmine, do you presume that the water will never, ever, the clean water, will never, ever run out? Or would you presume that there's a limited supply of this clean water?
See, what you're doing is what white people do. I can tell you're African and you've moved from the continent, or you were born in a different
No, I'm not African. I was born in New York. I just have an education.
No, you don't. So where's your mom and dad from?
Education.
Yeah, I have an education.
Where's your
so
mom
I
and dad
know
from?
these things, you know.
Where's your mom and dad from?
The planet Earth.
Yeah, they're not
I'm not from.
I can tell because once again, you're preaching white people nonsense. Yes, we know that, but if that's the case, why do white people take resources from everybody else's land except the one in the country that they're in? So I hear what you're saying, but
You said white people don't let
Jimmy, do you remember the thing I said about the hammer in your dick?
yeah, you're asking me a question that doesn't matter. You're saying, will it ever run out? Will my money ever run out? Yeah, that's why I keep going to work.
So we'll clean water.
That's why I keep going to work, Jimmy. You're asking me dumbass questions, and I actually refuse to answer the next one.
I'm trying to help you make.
I refuse to answer any more questions from Jimmy. Thank you.
If someone else wants to answer, they can.
No, I mean, she was the only one that's confused as to why anything has a dollar value.
No, but what I'm telling you is things used to be, for example, tulips were a form of currency at one point. Now you're saying a dollar value. No, things have value.
No, a value.
No, but things have dollar value, though. I'm going off what you said. Okay,
value, yes.
Things have value regardless of if you're going to pay for them or not. The thing is, you want to be white people have put a dollar value on things.
I don't know what white people have to do.
Excuse me, I'm almost done. Want to be white, black-ass African motherfuckers, right? You put dollar values on things that don't make sense, which is why your own countries that you leave are in shambles.
Wait.
You haven't even applied the capitalist model in the proper way.
Are you? I don't
The white people
This is why you need to improve the education system.
and then we decided to charge everybody.
Improve the education system.
It was called the slave trade.
Are you aware you're overeducated with no common sense?
It was called the slave trade because
You have no
black
common
people also wanted to
sense.
make money.
Hey, stop flexing those books. You ready to use your brain. Use your brain to think about what you're asking me. Use your brain.
I tried
Think
to
about what you're asking me.
clear the floor for you to be able to speak, Doctor. So when other people are speaking, if you could kindly allow them to.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I'm curious to understand why you think only white people care about money.
That's not what I think. I never said that. So once again, your education's failing you. I didn't say that.
All right.
We all care about money. I said I keep going to work so my money doesn't run out. You asked me about resources running out. I said that's why I keep working. The earth reproduces resources all the time. The fact that a white man thinks they know the timeline of when it will stop producing those resources is weird. It hasn't stopped for thousands of years. I don't think it's gonna stop now. Okay, that's just I look at history, I don't look at education. I look at history and I say, hey, this happened for this long, maybe it'll keep on happening. Did it stop at some point? I'm not done speaking. I'm Jimmy. I'm still speaking, Jimmy. So if I look at
you cut out, so
okay, I'm sorry. But if I look at historical context and I say, hey, the earth has never stopped producing water. Right? So, I mean, how can I put a timeline on it? What evidence do I have?
Do you believe in property ownership?
I'm almost done. What evidence do I? Yes. What evidence? It's not clear. It's not cleared and it has no land.
I don't know.
Yeah, Jimmy, she's trying to answer your
What's
question.
the fuck?
I didn't hear her. I don't know if that's me.
It is you.
Yeah, it's you.
Oh,
I can hear her.
I didn't hear anything.
Don't worry about it. I actually refuse to answer any questions. I'm going to stick to that mantra. I'm going to mute. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I really didn't hear you. But I saw that you were off mute, but I didn't hear you.
It happens to me too.
This fucking grok is sweet, man. I was asking about Germany and their electrical usage. It said that 62.7% of Germany's electricity is made up by renewables. That's why it's 4 times as much. But wind power is our single largest source with 33%. But coal and natural gas are still used but are declining, with coal being 23% and natural gas being 9.5% in 2024. So I mean, so Germany does have renewables making up most of their energy, but their energy is 4 times as much, which is bullshit. I mean, it shouldn't be that much, but You know, I think it eventually could go down, but for it to be 4 times as much seems kind of fucking bizarre.
Asking what the natural gas
and coal.
Natural
gas and coal is cheaper because it's just,
No, I mean,
Zariah. Let me look at that.
we'll
Which
hear
part is that?
like the way that other countries are taxed, only to find out that they don't have to pay for anything else.
whoa. I was
And I don't know if that's an appropriate enough, but
I'm like, so that was her
I'm just
payback,
trying to
right?
gauge
He's
whether
like,
this is everything 4 times as much. Is it there? Is it just?
Well, if you look, their fuel, so they go by the liter for fuel there, and I was looking just recently in Germany. So they go by the liter, and there's about 3.74 liters in a gallon. And if it goes, so per gallon, they're paying about $8 per gallon for fuel. I mean, that's for gasoline. For diesel, I think it's a little bit more. And so, no, things are not cheaper. That's why they have such big protests going on. I mean, things have gotten out of control in Germany.
The 4 times figure that he's talking about, is post-Ukraine. When the Ukraine war kicked off, their prices went through the roof because the Nord Stream 2 came down, and just energy is just expensive across Europe generally.
That's not just Ukraine. Gas is only making 9.5% of their electricity.
But again, hold on, Mountain. 9.5% in 2024. Google what that was in, let's say, 2019.
Okay.
And I would agree, shutting off their nuke planes was really stupid. They really shouldn't have shut off their nuke planes.
Yeah, but clearly they were forced to do that, right?
They weren't forced to do that. Angela Merkel, she wanted to do that. That's what I'm saying. It's not because of Ukraine.
It's no logic in that.
Angela Merkel wanted to switch over to renewables and wanted to get rid of fossil fuels, which it's not fossil fuels, by the way, but she wanted to get rid of coal, gas, and nuclear, and they wanted to be reliant on renewables. She pushed this shit, guys. That's why they're set. That's why people
let me repeat what you're saying. A puppet government, because remember, Germany is a coalition government, so the puppet that was chosen was forced by BlackRock to shut down the most dense energy source so that they can give all these contractors to get all this money for building all this renewable energy and literally convince the world that this is our grid. This is just a contract, man. This at best is corruption. That's why they shut that thing down. It's corruption. Because look at the contractors that build the renewable facilities. Look at the contractors. That's who you know funds your parliamentarians. I see this over here where I live. There's no such thing as, I want renewable, whatever. Renewable can never replace as a base load. It does not have enough energy density to do that. Because I will ask you this right now, Walter. Show me a factory today that is running on renewable. Fuck a country.
No, listen, I agree with you. Listen, I agree with you. I'm with you, buddy. I agree with you, man.
There are two
Does
sources.
not have the energy density.
There are 2 sources that have more than enough energy density. There's geothermal and there's hydro. Those are very fucking good sources of renewable energy. But I don't buy into the conspiracy theories, the theory that you have. I think ESG is just another way for a certain class of people, mostly government class, to make a shit ton of money via stealth taxes and etc. But yeah, that's another story.
Yeah, I mean, they said the same thing. I mean, even with hydro, the thing about hydro is that it's based on location. So I don't know the landscape of Germany, but the reality is you can't just plant it anywhere. So yeah, absolutely, it's one of the lowest local cost of energy. Actually, it's based on location and also rainfall within the area. So I mean, look, I honestly it's just
Jamaica was the first country with lights. Just let that sink in. Jamaica was the first country with power. I'm gonna go on mute.
You know, and it's time that Germany, bro, because you know all the innovations Germans have done, and they're letting all these multi corporations destroy their notion. I'm talking about Germany.
Wait.
I'm talking about Germany.
Wait. Lights were literally invented in America. What do we see?
Oh, well, I think you should do it.
Don't debate edgy logic, man. Don't entertain it.
I think you're dumb. Jamaica was the first country with
Fine. This lady talked about free energy. So you want to debate it?
He's like, fine.
When she said free energy, I gave up.
Yeah,
Free energy, I gave
now
up.
black country that gives out free water and free energy. Are they doing that in Nigeria or Jamaica?
I just wanted to say real quick that irony is some of the best countries for renewables are like Saudi Arabia, right? Because it's sunny all the time. They're having huge success with solar in Saudi Arabia. Doesn't really work for Germany though.
It's not good. Look, the carbon footprint to develop solar panels is far worse than the like coal power plants and all the other shit that they're trying to do. It's all retarded. It's extremely high capital. The return on investment is garbage. If it wasn't for like a carbon credit system, it may be, tax fucking benefits, which can go away any day, all of these things would be fucking running at a loss, and it's stupid.
Well, but that depends on like the usage, right? On how much you have to store. So like in countries where it's sunny all the time, then you don't store as much solar energy because you don't need as much battery capacity, because you don't need to you don't need to worry about peaks that are as high or troughs that are as deep. And you're able to get more energy out of your capital investment. So that's why it can work somewhere. But the irony is that it's in major petroleum producing countries, basically. There and like the Southwest, right? Arizona, parts of Texas.
Yeah,
it can work there.
It's the offset. So because
10.5% still, Gar.
Because of the ESG policies, places that produce, sell, or in the business of products that pollute, they need to offset. There is mandate; it's forced upon them. So they're not building these because it works. They're building these because they have to. It's actually pretty fucked up.
Well, I'm not gonna say that you're wrong. I think they probably would just build nuclear, but the programs are moderately successful in those places.
Most of the renewables that are built in Germany are built by the same companies that are doing the coal mining. Because they're legally required to offset. RVA is the big energy company in the Northeast, at least. Sorry, Northwest. And they build all the coal plants as well as the windmills. But Germans also have a significantly lower kilowatt per hour usage in the home too. They use less energy than most of us here in the US do. Air conditioners are basically unicorns. You don't really see them anywhere. The construction standards are much, much higher in Germany, so buildings are made more energy efficient, both old ones and new ones. And they use better technology. Most German homes aren't using old tank water heaters. They use tankless. They use heat pumps instead of oil furnaces or natural gas furnaces. They just use less energy per household.
But they tossed a lot though still like that. I mean, there's lots of people that are in the streets, man, who are protesting the cost of everyday things in Germany. But I was saying, I looked it up. In 2019, I just go to Grok. Grok is X's new AI. It's really good. And there's two different types of searching you can do. But anyway, it just says, man, that in 2019 it was 10.5% for electrical usage. So they might have went down a percentage, for electrical production from gas, after Ukraine. But I'm telling you, man, it's because of Angela Merkel's policies. These green policies have made Germany's electrical costs skyrocket.
It's really not the green policies, though. It's largely the war in Ukraine that caused the energy crisis. I mean, just some Googling in that regard, you can find it. And again, that percentage point drop, take a look at the price difference. Look at the cubic foot price of natural gas in 2019 the Germans were paying as compared to what they're paying now.
So you're talking about heating their homes, man, like, because people heat their homes with natural gas too. That's what they use it for mainly. That's because it's energy dense, you know.
It's used for a bunch of
mainly used for heating their homes.
It's used for vehicles even. Compressed natural gas can be used in public transit.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of their trains
seconds to fill up
over there.
Cool.
And then of course their power plant generation was happening largely with natural gas, and now they've had to go back to coal. And look, I agree that shutting down the power plants. The nuclear power plants and getting off of nuclear was one of the biggest mistakes they could have made, and it's I think the biggest mistake in U.S. energy policy. The fact that we are not building more nuke plants is going to put us 10 or 20 years behind the rest of the world.
Yeah. But did you hear that they are still guard? They're actually funding. It started last year. They're trying to build more places we can refine the resources because. A lot of times we're importing resources because we don't have the refineries or the power.
Well, yeah, we don't have the capacity to refine most of our energy exports, so we export raw materials rather than finished products. That's true. Nuke energy is going to have to become more popular just because of the AI revolution. Like Microsoft and companies like them are buying up warehouses, you know, like football throws away from nuclear power plants. Sucking up all that power.
Don't believe the headlines, bro. I'm actually in that specific industry.
Only Jimmy knows everything.
Wait, what about the headline should I not believe? Is there something I'm missing?
No. Never. But yeah, I'm in the hyperscale data center industry. And so yeah, so a lot of, we're talking about nuclear, but the thing is, it's been so long since we've actually developed a nuclear plant that essentially the last people that did build one have died a long time ago. There's no one.
Well, no,
it's not easy, is it? I heard it's not easy.
I'm not saying we're actively developing nuclear infrastructure. I'm just saying that like Microsoft is attempting to like buy entire nuke plants. Like they put in a bid to buy 3 Mile Island. Yeah, because of the power demands that they're going to have. So this is naturally going to increase the demand for power, and I think obviously, given the state of like non-renewables, nuke is going to be kind of the big thing. Once everybody gets their head out of their ass, I'm sure we're going to start moving in that direction. But at the current state,
yeah, but 3 Mile Island isn't ready to go right now. Like it isn't like
3 Mile Island's been producing since
it's got its uranium, it's got its systems. Like it's not. They have to develop it.
Well, multiple reactors at 3 Mile Island have been in production since their accident.
Yes, but
which was like what, the late 90s?
The lead time is absolutely atrocious. So right now, if I wanted to do a combined cycle nat gas, which is what we're doing now, right now in East Arkansas, fucking if you ordered a turbine, you're waiting 18 months.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, I mean, it's going to take us like a decade to get caught up to the demand. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, nuclear, the problem with, I guess, besides China, is that it just really takes too long. I think anyone, to be honest, Jimmy, can really build the most generic, let me say, water pressured generators, right? But, water pressured nuclear reactors. But the problem is time, man. I think it takes a very long time. Unless you use China. China tends to be able to do it in 5 years. So just bring the Chinese over to build your plant.
It's not. The thing, we can't. And that's actually against the law.
It's because of approvals. It's not because they know how to build them better than we know how to build them.
It's regulatory red tape, yeah.
Yeah, it's regulatory.
It's more than regulatory. It's a national security risk because they're fucking pieces of shit.
True.
So like, for example, Huawei puts all kinds of devices so they can spy on us. So we can't even use Chinese products, really.
Hold on, still not.
That was the rationale behind the whole NDAA.
I just want to read something to you. This is 1 second here. I want to read something. This is really fast. It says this, okay. High electrical costs in Germany stem from a mix of factors tied to its energy policies and market dynamics. The country's push for renewable energy, known as Energiewende, plays a big role to shift away from fossil fuels and nuclear power. Germany has heavily subsidized wind, solar, and other renewables. These subsidies are funded through a surcharge on electricity bills called the EEG levy, which households and small businesses pay. Even though this levy has dropped some in recent years due to its policy tweaks, it still adds a noticeable chunk to its price. Then there's the phase out of nuclear power after the Fukushima meltdown in 2011. Germany decided to shut down all of its nuclear plants by 2022, removing a cheap, stable energy source. This forced more reliance on renewables, which can be inconsistent. Wind doesn't blow, and the sun doesn't always shine. To fill the gaps, Germany sometimes leans on expensive backup systems like gas plants, or imports energies from its neighbors, often at a premium. Taxes and grid fees all pile on, and about half the electricity price for German households comes from government taxes like VAT and levies for maintaining and upgrading the power grid. The grid itself needs costly expansions to handle decentralized renewable sources spread across the country, unlike the old centralized coal and nuclear setups. Supply and demand dynamics have gotten messier lately too. Europe's energy crisis, kicked off by Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, slashed natural gas supplies, spiking prices for gas-generated electricity. Germany lacking in its own big book. So all of us, so we're both right though. So we're both right, for sure. But
I wasn't disagreeing with you in the beginning. It was just missing the Nord Stream 2 going down and the energy crisis caused by the Ukraine war is like a big chunk of that problem. It's a huge chunk of that problem. Otherwise, the problem that you're talking about is present. But the problem you're talking about is present all across the EU and can't really just be pointed directly at like on.
That's true as well. It has to do with Greens. Yeah. I mean, Angela is just doing what the Greens wanted, basically. And
Well, she's long gone now. It's Olaf Scholz that's in charge.
Yes, exactly. So it's really about that political. I go to Germany like 3 times a year. You're missing the point when you're trying to pin it on Angela. If Angela had not been there, someone else would have done the same thing. The political pressures would be the same.
Especially
so, yes, exactly. So you're like trying to talk about this one person, but that's like not what the issue is.
basically,
Hello?
nobody did.
What the hell is this guy talking about?
No, they set out on that road. We have a lot of echo. So if you could mute, thank you. Yeah, so I would just
put a link to the back channel for the Garzweiler mine. You guys should really check this out if you're interested in energy policy in Germany.
Yeah, they went down that direction a long time ago in Europe.
Jimmy would like to a lot of government taxes, seems like, from what that guy just read. The government is making the prices really, really high for it.
I mean, if they had plenty of energy, it wouldn't matter how high the tax is if the base price is low, okay? Or, I mean, it would, but it would have to be an astronomically high tax. And the problem is they have restricted their own supply of energy through so many different ridiculous policies.
Yeah, because
they're starving an industrial economy for energy. This makes no sense. You want as much energy as you can get.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they
maybe they're trying to get away from being mass manufacturers. I mean, if that's the case, they try to do that. I could see that as a working thing. But the thing is, you're not America, man. Not like you sell as much software and whatnot. So I also don't know why they did that. But I could see that it don't make sense if you're not like a manufacturer hub.
They did it because they wanted to try to appease the greenies, like you said, and and try to be an example. Because Germany is kind of, they're the economic powerhouse of Europe. They try to set an example, and I think that's, they let a woman. No offense to the women here, but they let a woman be prime minister, and it fucked the country up, man. I mean,
that man would have done the
Their
same
country's
thing.
been messed up.
Stop with that. That man would
Right.
have done the same thing.
Like she had messed it up before, didn't she?
You're right. So, but I mean, you're right, because there's a lot of leftists. I mean, there's a different type of leftism over there. Even the conservatives over there are pretty left wing if they came over here. You know, it's a
I don't
different
think it
type.
has anything to do with right or left wing, and I think it has to do with money. Like if you're involved in green energy, you're gonna promote this, you're gonna pay politicians, you're gonna lobby. That's why we need to curb lobbying. A lot of people are paying their way to get things that we know aren't good. A lot of these politicians know this shit isn't good for us. Yeah, I think
She cut out for
like
everybody
someone
else too.
said,
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Yes, you did.
Jazzy, something's up with your phone. Or your microphone, or your internet.
Yeah, doctor, we thought the app was fucked up.
I thought they had got her.
She's spilling all the secrets. The black man pulled up outside of her.
sorry, I left and came back, but
Why you guys so defending BlackRock? What's up with this defense of BlackRock?
they have nothing to do with this situation that we're talking about. They don't.
BlackRock is involved with everything. They own all these green agendas by BlackRock. That's Larry, whatever.
That's not
He's the one pushing a lot of this shit. Even
That's
DEI was BlackRock.
You're not wrong, but there was stuff before BlackRock, okay? Like, the Europeans were Greens, and there was the anti-nuclear movement and all of that stuff decades ago.
Look, they're really good at hiding the tracks. At best, that's how it seems at first.
I guess RFK works for. Does RFK work for
No,
BlackRock?
I'm just saying. Like, think about it. We have a country here that literally has its entire pipeline blown out, and they're all acting dumb on it. They're acting dumb on it, man. And we're gonna act like, no, they did this by themselves. They're not owned. Come on, man. All their politicians are owned. Clearly. I mean, they're not even brave enough to tell their own citizens what happened. We had to hear it from Trump. When he talked about, oh yeah, the Russians blew up the whole thing, we're supposed to believe that. I'm just saying, an American former president had to expose the truth. Or at least be one of the people exposing the truth. So I'm just saying, let's be honest here, they have a government that's owned by corporate in America.
We know that. That's what I just said. I brought up lobbying when I cut out. We need to curb lobbying. As long as people can lobby to get their way, we're never gonna have good. They don't have our best interests at heart. It's all about who's paying for what agenda.
That's a good system. That's a good system. And what needs to happen is we need to start lobbying on our own behalf.
Facts.
To do that, we need civil society organization.
But we don't have enough money. They're just gonna buy us. We're gonna give them the money. They're gonna
That's
take
going to be the issue.
Yeah.
Money somewhere.
Hold on, but
These corporations are not going to lose their voice all of a sudden. They're just going to put the money to the next entity that's going to get them where they want.
But they spend a lot of money to get our votes. And the thing about a community organization is it doesn't have as much money. It still has a lot of money if you're pooling a small amount of money from a lot of people. But a community organization has votes. That's why it has power.
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking yesterday. It's probably true. It was saying, so the salary of Nancy Pelosi is $223,000, but her net worth is $202 million. We got Chuck Schumer. His salary $210,000 a year. His net worth is $75 million. Elizabeth Warren, salary $285K. And she's got a net worth of $67 million. And then what's that turtle who just retired for the Republicans? What's his name? Mitch McConnell. Motherfucker, he's got a salary of $200,000. He's worth $95 million. So, and there's a lot of other
very a wealthy Chinese woman. So I think she's part of the steel in China, if I'm not mistaken.
Do you guys think that Trump will have the position? Do you guys think that Elon Musk will have the position in the administration he does if he didn't give Trump $275 million towards his campaign?
Awesome.
No, this again, guys. Elon does not own Trump, guys. These are just people, businessmen making.
He literally paid for this position. He bought his way into the Trump administration, and y'all are just okay with it.
Well,
$275 million.
Yes, but she will. Many other people. She will. Many other people gave millions of dollars to Trump. They didn't get
$275 million.
So just because somebody paid a bunch of millions of dollars, not clear they would get any gold at all.
That's
Right?
not
Would
the
he?
point.
Would he have it without that? Maybe not. But that's not the only reason he has it.
That's not the point. The point is nobody contributes that much amount of money as a single person. Wait, hold on. As a single person, nobody contributes that much money and then becomes a person that has a position in the government.
Kamala raised more money than Trump.
Wait, hold on.
In less time.
So the first thing I was.
Don't talk about it first.
The first thing
What are we talking about here?
The first thing I have to ask you, okay, is like, how does he rank among all the contributors to Trump's campaign? Do you have that anywhere?
That's irrelevant.
Because a lot of people have contributed a lot of money to Trump and not ended up with a position.
That's irrelevant. That's not the question. The question is, why is
But that's his
Elon?
question.
The question is, why is Elon Musk, as the richest man in the world, literally, why does he have a part in the government?
I think that's the question.
Alex got it.
He'll just get fired. That means nothing. He can ruin a lot of stuff, and hopefully it doesn't happen though. But
CMA, what are you alert to? What are your warning signs that Elon Musk is becoming susceptible to the power that he's wielding?
so just I always point to the court cases from Tesla, being inconsistent on your integrity, doing something against the people, Monica, answering your question, and then when judges tell you and juries tell you you're doing wrong, you still try to skip all responsibility. That is sinister to me. It's not evil, Monica, but it's very sinister.
That's not sinister. That's a proper defense of a business.
Calm down.
No, because you have this Disneyland cartoon view of diversity, equity, inclusion.
This is a comedy.
Everybody should. No. What's a comedy show is what you're saying.
Comedy show.
What a comedy show is what you are saying.
Going to finish.
You are criticizing a business for properly defending itself.
Calm down, young man.
Adams.
Calm down.
Let's see lay of land, and then you can, as loud as you want, respond to that. Just lay of land first.
And Monica, that's another answer. That off the cuff childishness is what I'm afraid of, Monica. Go ahead, insecure guy.
Were you misgendering Monica? I mean, was that an opportunity for somebody else to speak? I mean, I don't understand what's happening here. I didn't resort to name calling, but this person in calling people immature most certainly did. And I also think that it gives insight as to his immature view about how a business is supposed to operate, defend itself, and to preserve its assets and its revenue. So again, at the end of the day, the fact that the man went to court, the fact that the man, said F you to judges and a system that was dragging his company towards, having to hold a potential liability, that to me is ridiculous that anybody can say that just because somebody brings a case towards you means that you should just lay down, you should just not fight, and you should just accept what's happening. So again, listening to what you have to say in your sentiments, Sile, that to me and that mindset is only one more step towards communism.
On top of which, man, I don't know what's going on with Sile this morning.
Hey, no personal attack. Let's stop this person.
No, but you just landed your plane with one, so be quiet.
Call my name.
Be quiet.
Okay,
Don't call my name.
Sile, I'm addressing something you said. I'm not personally attacking you. I'm not calling you immature like you did to Adams. I'm not doing any of that. I am saying your name because I'm addressing something you said directly. Okay? Cool. You talked about California and agreeing with her about the flip-floppy nature of tech pros or, people in technology. California never asserted to any flip-floppy nature of people in tech or billionaires. She never said anything of the sort. You've consistently created straw men and then decapitated them on the stage. It doesn't make sense. It's really, really frustrating to hear you talk about certain topics that you act like you can speak so intelligently on, and you have no frame of reference whatsoever.
It's the fragility, Anthony. He's gonna go to the racial cases against Elon Musk. That's all it comes down to. The black people that complained about Elon Musk, and he's going to sit here and try to scapegoat around his fragility. That is exactly what this comes down to.
What it is. That's precisely what it is.
Anyone else? Or because I'm very aware that the left has gotten so many things wrong over the last 8 years or so that it's very tempting for the right not to pay any attention to their warnings, because the sky is falling, Chicken Little rhetoric is only tolerated so far before we have fried chicken for dinner. So tell me legitimately, what are your metrics for deciding? Because I just listened to the Cambridge debate about how Trump is the 21st century fascist, and 4 of the 6 debaters lied blatantly to the listeners in the debate. So are y'all in reality at all? Are y'all dealing with facts and data, or is it all emotion?
Monica, it's 100%.
Hey, Adams, don't talk to me. You called me shit 10 minutes ago. I don't really want to talk to you.
Well, that was more than 10 minutes.
Someone else know that.
Hold on. Okay, here's the thing. Listen. Monica, or anybody else, you don't have to respond to Adams. Adams is on the stage. It's popcorn, so if no one's speaking, he has the right to respond to anybody else. Nobody, though, is required to even acknowledge him. But we're going to keep the messy in the chat. We're not going to bring it on the stage. I can appreciate your point, but you are welcome to just ignore the shit out of him. But we're not going to tell anybody they can't.
Right, and then you have Sile coming off of mute talking about, this is 2 people like a mean girl, like I should be expelled from the stage for having a dissenting opinion.
Let's just keep the messy shit.
He's a mean girl.
Let's just ignore it and keep on with the conversation.
So, in response to what Monica was saying, okay, I'm not directing this towards Monica, but I think that, in asking if people are awake, of course they're not, especially when it comes to their fragility and their insecurities and their lack of being able to certain
1 hour in the bag, baby.
Towards things that have not been definitively proven from the actual reality of the productiveness of the said person and what they're accomplishing. So yes, I do think that a lot of these people are asleep, and I also think that they're outside of their common sense.
Yeah, I'm on the left. I'm a Democrat. I'm progressive, but I guess I'm neoliberal, so center left on economic issues. And I think there's far leftists that I don't agree with, of course, and I'm sure there's far right people Republicans don't agree with. So of course you're going to hear some rhetoric that sounds like they're living in the clouds, just like I hear rhetoric from the right that sounds like people are living in the clouds. But aren't we talking more about, this moderate middle of like 2/3 of America that want to discuss the issues and want to discuss policy? And I think this is what this room has been, more or less. So I do acknowledge, though, I'm a Democrat. I acknowledge there's far left people. I'm not a communist and I'm not a socialist. And there's some number of them on the far left. And I know what you're hearing, but you must know that the majority of Democrats don't believe that.
So California Dreaming, how do you feel about the tariffs? Just to see if you're, based on your last statement, how do you feel about the tariffs? I know it's a non-Elon question, but I'm curious.
I mean, it's bad economic policy. That's it. I mean, you can discuss the economic policy, you can argue with economists about it, but I just believe it's bad economic policy.
Could you expand on the answer a little more as to why you believe it's bad economic policy?
Well, I might have to look up my notes. I mean, I'm just remembering my econ classes, so I'm happy to expound upon it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of people who think it's bad economic policy. There's a lot of economists that argue that it's bad economic policy, and now it's like the moderate middle that wants to discuss policy. So yes, there's some people that will have a knee-jerk reaction to tariffs because Trump introduced tariffs, but there's also a lot of people that would have problems with tariffs who, it doesn't matter if it's a Democratic president or Republican president that brought it up. So I think it's good to recognize that there are people that want to talk about policy, want to talk about the economics behind what different presidents are doing, and they exist. So I don't know if it's like a gotcha moment or something, but that's why I'm against what he did.
So, I mean, do you understand that we've always had California?
Sorry, man. Like in California, literally, you said you might have to consult your notes, and you said there are a lot of economists that are against it. But you did not give like a substantive reason why you said that you were against it.
Well, and the other thing too,
I don't understand.
The other thing too, Anthony, is one thing in her understanding of how she, recited her understanding of Trump's policies is that he introduced tariffs. We've always had tariffs. We've always had them. So, I mean, do you understand that, California? We've literally always had them. The only thing that he is doing is changing the amount for which we're receiving and our attitudes towards those said tariffs. So, I mean, this is nothing new. As a matter of fact, if you look at the early parts of America, the model that Donald Trump is trying to deploy is the same model that existed in early America before we had an internal revenue service. So, I mean, I don't understand how the perception in what you said is that Trump is reinventing the wheel. He's simply not. These tariffs have always existed.
California, if you said something like you believe that the tariffs are inflationary and it's going to be, the brunt of the burden is going to be borne by the American taxpayer, and you feel that, even if the ultimate goal is for us to start to jumpstart manufacturing in this country, it's going to take a while before we can, ramp up the resources needed to actually make a dent in how much, things we import into this country. These are all valid reasons why you might have concerns about tariffs, and that's a conversation. But I don't understand when you tell me that, you need to brush up from your old econ notes, and there are a lot of economists that are, against it. Like, I just don't understand Clubhouse sometimes.
Yeah, I'm willing to say I'm not an expert in an area. Like, I think I have much more trust in, experts than Republicans, and I recognize that. So that's why I don't want to get into the nitty gritty. I've seen enough rooms on Clubhouse where people start questioning, does science even exist? And should you even trust professors of economics that have been working on this for 30 years? That's a Republican thing, this anti-intellectualism that I don't want to engage with and I don't believe in. So I'm happy to say,
another straw man.
This is an issue for Republicans.
It's not a Republican thing. There is a treatise book written in the 1950s by a dude named Hofstadter, who's a professor at Yale. It's called American Anti-Intellectualism, and it is considered one of the primers on the study of anti-intellectualism in our country. And what you find out when you read this book is that from the start of the country, there has been a tension between those of expertise and those who don't have expertise. And in different periods in American history, we relied more on experts, and in some areas, we did not. That is not simply a Republican thing. That is an American population thing. And it's well chronicled throughout all of our history that we have different periods in which we go back and forth between trusted experts and non-trusted experts. One of the pieces and reasons why folks on the right appear to distrust experts is because they believe they're looking down their nose at them, going, I from New York know how to live your life better than you do. I American farmer in the Midwest, know more about the climate than you do. And that is,
Ich glaube, ich gehe
as
wieder
you
nach
would imagine,
Hause.
not received very well, right? People like
Ich bin müde, sehr
don't
sogar.
like being talked down to. And if they feel like they've been talked down to, yeah, one of the things you're going to get is a push in anti-intellectualism. But to say that it is purely a Republican problem, I'm sorry, ma'am, that is just a misstatement of fact in its entirety. What you are seeing today.
Marshall, thank you.
Yeah.
Made the point, yeah.
Yeah, Marshall, I hear where you're coming from with that, and I agree 100%. But I think as far as modern times and the weaponization of science on the left has led people to question their sensibilities and reality in front of them. And I think that is where you see people saying, listen, you're not going to tell me that a grown man in a wig is a woman. We have a biological understanding of what that is through science. So when the left has tried to, package an agenda in changing and weaponizing that said science, okay, to counter reality, I think that is where people have rejected a lot of people's, movements in trying to get us to follow a certain type of science that the left is propagating.
Hold on, I think I think that this is largely true, and I imagine that plenty of people have positions that they're going to take on this. I don't want us to get on this rabbit hole though, because that's exactly what it is. I think maybe a better place to focus, and I want to also make sure that David and Paul don't want to jump in here, but maybe a better place to focus is on tariffs specifically, not whether or not the right likes tariffs, those that do, because they're anti-science. I think that tariffs are problematic in the circumstances where they're just applied to somehow reclaim manufacturing. I don't think it's going to work very well. I think that there are better ways for us to go about doing things. But I'm happy to hear the arguments. I think there are also places where tariffs are good. I also think that Trump's tariffs from his first term, a lot of people see them as having worked. I think there's a really strong argument, though, that that's because the economy was doing really well in the beginning, and whatever damage they caused was absorbed. People can disagree with that completely, but let's just stick to the tariffs and the points of view.
Yeah, California, before you do that, California.
Yeah,
before you do that, I was waiting to say this, California. So just to be helpful for your econ class.
I was waiting and you was waiting. Together we all be waiting.
One reason that I brought this
up.
Okay, California. I'm happy for you to keep being a big part of this conversation, but you can't be the major part of it. I do think you're. Listen, I'm sorry. Okay, California. Here's the thing. We're gonna open it up a little. California. I want you to be in the room. People are going to be condescending. I will be condescending if it helps, and that way a woman is doing it. But I just want to make sure we're getting multiple voices. I also wanted to make sure that Paul and David didn't want to jump in. And then I absolutely want to hear your rebuttal to this, but I want to get some points in opposition to what you said that are not about science. I don't want people to reply to that part of what you said before. So Paul, David, do either of you want to jump in? Otherwise, let's let Celia respond, and then you can get.
So yeah, it wasn't attempting to be condescending. So let me just say this: if somebody in Scotland is already has sheep, and they're using their sheep as product, and you have sheep in America, and you want to ship to Scotland and sell to the Scottish people, if there's a tariff
to sell to your people, I don't see the problem with that. Because you're trying to buy into an industry. You're trying to sell to a different market. That's Scotland's customers, and it's already being served locally and domestically. Sheep are being provided. You're an outside person trying to ship. Matter of fact, you're an outside person trying to ask Parliament for a handout called NAFTA. Let's just call it NAFTA, and to try to lower your financial exposure so that you can compete with the domestic sheep producer. That's really the problem. So tariffs are a good thing. But go ahead, guys.
So let me just say, the reason that I brought up anti-intellectualism is that I'm willing to say that this is a complex topic. I know that 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists say Trump policies will fuel inflation. There was literally a letter by 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists.
California, I'm interested in what you have to say about tariffs.
I'm not interested in what I have to say. I'm interested in what Nobel Prize-winning economists
Respectfully, California, unless you're going to be specific about what you're saying about tariffs, I'm not interested in the 16 Nobel-winning
and that's the issue with intellectualism.
California, please shut the fuck up for just a second. All I'm asking is for you to make the arguments. Don't worry about the 16 Nobel economists. I'm sure that whoever disagrees with you can come up with some economists that have some sort of credibility as well. My point is, this is just a waste of time. I'm interested in your position on tariffs. I'm interested in the positions that other people in the room have. But, let's just not worry about the 16 that you're responding to. Let's worry about the points that you have.
So that's why I don't want to engage in this topic, because we come from it from very different directions.
Yet you're constantly unmuting then. If you don't want to engage in it, then I would suggest that you just stop engaging.
Yeah, finding the science that supports your side is something everybody does. So, yeah, we can say, I can say this and this. But tariffs, we need to be careful we don't get back to the Jimmy Carter, where it does start hurting agriculture, where it's overburdensome, or whatever other industry. We need to make sure it stays balanced enough. But it is one thing that brought, Toyota truck development to actually build manufactured Toyota pickups in the United States instead of overseas. So they're not all bad, but we need to really watch what ratio of them we're doing and not get too hog wild with it.
So I think you're right about that. There is a piece somebody sent, like one of my political friends sent me, and it's a fact sheet from the White House. And the reason it is interesting is because it names some of the tariffs. Now, I do think that, as I understand tariffs, they raise the price for the end consumer. But just for, 3 examples of things that the U.S. deals with on a tariff and from other countries. The U.S. tariff on ethanol is mere 2.5%, yet Brazil charges the United States ethanol export tariffs of 18%. As a result, in 2024, the U.S. imported over 200 million in ethanol from Brazil, while the U.S. exported only $52 million worth of ethanol in Brazil. Second, the U.S. average applied most favored nation (MFN) status, or most favored nation tariff on agricultural goods is 5%, but India's average applied most favored nation status tariff is 39% on the United States of America. India also charges a 100% tariff on U.S. motorcycles, while we only charge a 2.4% tariff on Indian motorcycles. Third, the European Union can export all the shellfish it wants to America, but the EU shellfish exports from 48 of our states, despite committing in 2020 to expedite approvals of shellfish exports. As a result, in 2023, the United States imported 274 million in shellfish from the EU, but exported only 38 million.
Marshall, this is killing me.
No, I'm done. I'm done with it. My only point in citing those specific things, where you said people everywhere, essentially, all the smart people think this. Well, these folks are plenty smart, and they don't always agree. And just blindly relying on people because they have credentials, to be frank, is not the way to elucidate the truth from things. You can
Marshall, but here's the thing, I don't wanna go down.
Yeah, no, that's fair, I'll just leave it there.
I think it's fair to make the point that there are people with a different position. That this isn't what I wanted her to rely on, I don't want us to either. The whole point of this stage is so that people can share their perspective. Anybody is welcome to ask for, if you make a claim and they wanna know where you got this from, then, assert your 16 Nobel Prize winning economist or whatever it is that you're looking at, but let's work with our own positions. Largely, like I said, I have a lot of complaints about the tariffs and the way that he's going about these things. I think there's arguments to be made on both sides. I'd like to hear.
At some point in time, because I'm a big defender of Carter policies on dates, timelines, actual people's names. Sometimes when people hate on Carter, as it relates to tariffs or as it relates to anything, they can't actually quote what they claim they hate. So at some point in time, in the back chat or in the chat, I would love to see what people are against an actual tariff that he passed that people are against, because I don't see it. Tariffs are a great thing for the country domestically. Yes, it does hurt people who want to buy a Hyundai or a Rolls Royce when there's plenty of local cars available, but I have no problem with that person that wants to get an exotic paying an extra amount of money. I don't want to make it super fair for them because they clearly want an exotic over a domestic.
So, from a safety standpoint, do you understand why a lot of people choose to drive European cars versus cars that were made in the USA? Zile?
So from a safety standpoint, safety many a times, and I'm answering your question, it's a perception. It's a perception. I used to work at Kitover Trucks. They were stated as the most safe, this and that. It's all perception. So the Chevys, the Ford, that's all perception. There's nothing. I've been in car areas for a while. I have classic cars. People can't explain the difference as far as safety, because many a times it's just like, and I'm gonna land right here. It's just like when Hyundai came in and Daewoo and Yugo. The claim was that they were great, they were this, they were that, and over the years, people's perception changed. So this safety claim, I don't get it. I don't get it. But go ahead, sir. You got it.
No, I mean, for me personally, when you look at the engineering of Mercedes and BMW, they have steel bumpers, right? That maybe perhaps, aside from the raw materials that they actually use to actually do, real authentic leather, may be the reason why they're more expensive. However, it's one of those things, Zile. Like I've been in a lot of car accidents, and I have experienced a difference in getting into an accident in a Honda versus getting into an accident in a BMW or a Mercedes. There's just a difference. There's a different sense of quality that goes into putting things in, like steel bumpers, for example. It's just one of those things. I feel like we should take an opportunity to compete with a lot of the European markets, specifically when it comes to car manufacturing and increasing safety in America. So it is what it is. Keep in mind, BMW and Mercedes, they have operations and manufacturings in the United States. So while it is an international company, it is, production that's still happening and benefiting America. And I also think that that's a very important context that a lot of people really don't understand when we have this conversation.
So this idea, real quick, this idea that safety is just perception, I vehemently disagree with it. I think that there are safety measurements. I think that there, car and drivers, the national transportation, whatever, they actually conduct studies and they can make comparisons and have safety ratings between different cars. I think this is, that it's just perception, but this is not just about marketing and, like what your favorite color car is. I think that there's actual data that we can look at, measurable data that we can look at, and we can glean information as to the safety of different vehicles and different manufacturers. And, so I reject the idea of it just being perception.
It's not just perception. I mean, let's apply this to, the aerospace industry. Let's apply this to the aerospace industry. Would you be, making the same type of claims when it comes to how we manufacture planes? Or do we utilize the best technology and the best resources to be able to manufacture said planes?
So I'm going to use evidence of Durango. But before I do that, let me address one of the things. When you read a lot of customer rating books and magazines, and matter of fact, just talk to people who rate safety, a lot of it has to do with the customer's feedback, not necessarily what the industry puts out. Like I'm about to use Durango as an example, because Adam brings up a good thing about steel. You can pay for steel, but using the first Durango that came out, it had too much steel, according to the safety people. Safest truck ever. Go look it up. But because it kept demolishing other cars that it got into an accident, and that car remained great, they said, we got to take some of the steel out of this. So you see how that's counterproductive to what's being said? It is safe, it has the steel in it, but because the culture of accidents here in America is not like Europe, unlike Europe. I've lived overseas for 4 years. It's unlike Europe. They couldn't have all that steel in the first edition of Durango, so they had to take it out. And that defeats this concept of, hey, we want the best, and it doesn't work like that amongst some of these car people. I have to do something for the house. I have to do something for the house. Walk me through why they took the steel out. You're not making any sense.
Your Adams, he has to literally run. You understand? He has to literally run. Alright?
Did you understand the last thing that he said? Like, that didn't make any sense. Why did they take the steel out the Durango, and what was the causation behind why they did that? Like, he went to the fact that it should have been there, it was absent, and I gotta go. Okay, so what are we talking about?
Adams, what we were talking about originally was whether or not safety is just based on perception. He totally went against what his initial assertion was. He disproved it, and then he ran. Like, he tried to shift the goalpost. He said safety is perception, and then he talked about the safest truck ever made. This is Clubhouse for you. This is the stuff that happens on Clubhouse. And then they're going to end up trying in another room. They're going to try to vilify you and say, oh, I can't stand such and such. And they don't make any sense. They have no idea what they're talking about. This is what happens on Clubhouse all the time. So California, did you have anything else you wanted to add on tariffs? Did you break out the econ notes? All right, guys, I'll be back, man. Sunday brunch time, man. Most High bless you guys. Nothing but the best.
God bless you too, Anthony.
Hey, thanks,
Be safe.
Anthony. Have a good one.
Appreciate you guys.
Woo-wee. It's only Sunday.
He would be serious and honest.
Yeah, I'm more serious and honest than you are. That's the irony of all of this. That's why you're actually roasting yourself. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, like for example, if I ask you a simple question about stuff that you claim to know, you'll dodge it all day. And that's dishonest. Now I can expose that over and over again with you. But you can't do that to me. You can't expose me for being dishonest. Isn't that funny?
Hi, well, I'd like to interrupt Honey because he has this show called Roasting. And Honey, I'd like to do a one-on-one show with you. And in fact, I'd actually like to pay you. And I'd like to produce the Honey Badger show where we essentially roast everyone. I know maybe you're not interested in roasting everyone, but I think
I literally
everyone.
thought about this yesterday, exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, how on earth could I become a commodity for this guy to where he'd actually pay me for content?
I see it's really a partnership. I'm just willing to invest a little bit into, your time, but it's a 50-50 business and it's really a YouTube business where it's the roast show. Like we have to look at this in terms of television and the Gong Show. Like we are reproducing the Gong Show, if that makes any sense.
Totally. Too bad we can't get Charo.
I just think you're great at it. Like you're very sharp. It's just you get it. So, but the thing is, you have to.
What is this?
Well, we're trying to see. Some people try to be productive on this app, and they actually want to make money to increase their power and their joy in life, as opposed to just like living in diarrhea with everyone on this app because they're fucking retarded. Let me explain to you how the roast show works.
No, wait, my friend. Cursing in my room is not allowed.
Well, see, the point is, I really don't care. I just needed to talk to Honey Badger. I don't care about you. So, Honey, just remember that and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum, Frank. How are you?
Yeah. It's about building power and using power to come up with political ends, right? Typically, what I mean by that is like, we'll overemphasize the national and, not do the stuff that helps give you realistic experience on the use of accruing of and proper maintenance of power for the voter. I think that has a lot to do with it, actually. Oh, one more piece. I think people will tell you they don't have time. What they mean by that is they're not willing to reprioritize their schedule, right? We have time for the stuff we prioritize.
We have time to be on Clubhouse.
Pretty much. That's sort of my point, right? If we have time to do this, we have time to do other stuff, right? And the way we prioritize our time does that. So it's not like I can't or I can never find time. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely people who legitimately have issues and kids and all that other kind of shit, right? But the vast majority of people who don't get involved, they don't get involved because they don't reprioritize their time. Being part of the civic fabric is not as important in their time as, say, watching TV or being on Clubhouse.
Well, and that's why I personally do not like Elon Musk for a multitude of reasons, and maintaining consistency in my ideology. That's been ingrained into me from birth. I'm not going to go too much into that. I felt like he was dog whistling in a certain sense of people's vulnerability in trying to preserve the nuclear family and family values, while he continues to live in a way that's otherwise. So for me personally, I don't like it. So, but I do recognize what he's doing as far as maximizing efficiency and looking at this, and this has been one of my biggest complaints working in corporate America for 15 years now, and